You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
This is your NXT report for Wednesday, September 26, 2018. I'm Rohan Unruh. Follow me on Twitter at Rohan Unruh. This week starts with Commissioner Regal coming to the ring, saying that he is narrowing down the investigation as to who attacked Aleister Black. Undisputed Era immediately come out, and they start giving Regal static about not worrying about what's happening now. Aleister Black is still out of commission, and that's your fault. That's on you. What are you doing about the War Raiders? What are you doing about Ricochet not giving me my rematch? Regal just politely says, well, Adam, you never asked for a rematch. I will give you a rematch in 2 weeks. It'll be Adam Cole, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne all competing for the North American title. The following week, we're going to see Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong defending the tag team titles against the War Raiders. All three Undisputed Era throw a tremendous hissy fit, and Regal walks out. Interview with Johnny Gargano walking into the building. It's announced next week that he returns to action to face Tony Nese, and he says he's feeling good about himself finally. He can't be Johnny Wrestling if he's just sitting on the couch. As they walk away, Lacey Evans approaches Johnny and Candice and accuses Candice of not standing by her man. And Candice gets pissed off. Johnny has to pull her away. We get a video vignette of Lars Sullivan doing assorted damage to cinder blocks and steel fences. There's a video promo for the Saudi Arabia show. The very first words in that promo is Corey Graves saying, "We celebrate Saudi Arabia's progression for diversity." The absolute balls of this company. And it just goes to show that DiBiase was right. Everybody's got a price. Backstage, we get Velveteen Dream. He's finishing a photo shoot, and Kathy's trying to get a word with him. Dream doesn't want to talk about anyone else except him. Kathy asks if he's implying that Tommaso Ciampa attacked Aleister Black, and Dream just says he's not a snitch. That was fantastic. We got our first match of the night, Lars Sullivan taking on Victor Orchent, who is a Vordell Walker. He spent some time in TNA and ROH. He actually has his last name Walker written on the back of his tights. So I know he's not in any long-term plans, but if he already has Walker on the back of his tights, and just say who he is, it's not like we're going to be seeing him anytime soon. Speaking of tights, Lars now has great big block lettering on the back of his tights that just read Lars. He kills him quickly with that pop-up power slam, beals him in and out of the corner. He gets tossed out of the ring. As Lars is looking over his victim on the outside, EC3 in street clothes runs in, attacks Lars from behind. EC3 gets the better of Lars, knocks him to the floor, and Lars backs away to fight another day. We get a promo for WWE CustomTees.com. So watch out, Pro Wrestling Tees, you've got some competition here. Regal's walking backstage towards his office, and he's about to provide an update on the Black case. He's going to go into his office when Nikki Cross is seen coming out of his office. She says she wants to play with Bianca again, and she asks for a rematch. He says he'll take it under consideration, and as she's leaving, she grabs him by the arm and repeats, I know! And then she goes on her merry, insane, crazy way. I need to see a network special of Nikki Cross in character negotiating her contract. With this character, she could probably be satisfied in, being paid in cheap, shiny things like jingly keys. So I think NXT is leaving a lot of money on the table here. She doesn't portray someone who's very financially savvy. Second match of the night, it's the Mighty taking on the Street Profits. The Mighty come out wearing the Profits' chains and mocking them, holding up their black solo cup. Profits come down and there's no dancing. They are all business, and Shane Thorne is flaunting the chains in front of him. Dawkins just lays Thorne out quickly with a straight right, and Thorne takes a flare flop. Dawkins doesn't try to remove the chains. Mighty are sent to the outside. Montez Ford hits probably the highest leaping flip dive I've ever seen. He cleared the top rope by what looked to be at least 2 feet and landing about 6 or 7 feet from the ring. This guy is a freaking superstar. He follows that up by jumping from the floor to the apron backwards. So you know how Brock jumps, during his warm-up, he jumps from the floor to the apron. Montez Ford did this backwards, and this guy is an absolute stud. Thorne finally gets the heat on Dawkins with a fantastic-looking dropkick. Percy just can't let this chain thing go. He says the mighty are jealous, that's why they stole them. Miller puts Ford in a figure 4 variation. Ford tries to chop his way out. Thorne goes to back suplex Montez. Montez flips over the top and lands on the damaged left knee. Thorne then cradles the knee, floats over for the cover, and gets the clean win at 7 minutes and 52 seconds. Nice clean win. Nice of them telling the story of the injured leg. This feud will continue. This was a fun match. We get Vanessa Bourne versus Kyrie Sane. Nigel claims that Vanessa has reinvented herself and has a whole new repertoire of moves. I need to see this brand come up with a whole new repertoire of entrance theme songs. I think about 90% of all the music sounds exactly the same. Vanessa mocks Kyrie and puts on her pirate hat and kicks it out of the ring. And Kyrie is just heartbroken. She has the look of a "I'm gonna fuck you up" face. Vanessa hits a twisting suplex and tries to work over her neck. Kyrie plants Vanessa with a big spike DDT, hits the interceptor spear. She hit her so hard that one of Bourne's garters broke. She does her Bushwhacker Pirate March, hits the Insane Elbow for the quick win at 3 minutes. So, Sensational Sherry Jr. loses again. So, because it's a very quick match, I'm immediately thinking Angle Alert. And sure enough, Shayna comes out. She says she's invoking her rematch clause. Kyrie agrees to defend the title at WWE Evolution, and she will beat her again. I was completely unaware that NXT talent had the ability to book themselves on main roster pay-per-views. The more you know. I don't think this was one of Shayna's stronger promos. She looked a little bit lost out there. I think it's really hard for these developmental talent to do WWE-style promos in 2018 and not make it sound like it's just a bunch of rote cliches. We get smiley, happy Keith Lee walking through the hallway. He walks through a door where Kona Reeves is doing a photo shoot. They jibber-jabber back and forth a bit, and Lee lays out a challenge for him. So next week we have Lars Sullivan in EC3. Main event this week, Tommaso Ciampa taking on one half of Heavy Machinery, Otis Dozovic. This stems from the altercation they had, I believe, 2 weeks ago, where Heavy Machinery was on the hunt to find the Alistair attacker, and Ciampa took exception to being insinuated as being the perpetrator. That leads to this. Otis is outpowering Ciampa early. He whips him over the top rope to the floor. They get back in the ring. Ciampa gets backdropped outside again. And to celebrate this, Otis does the worm and he dances. As they're outside, they fight back and forth. Ciampa grabs the hair and whips Otis back onto the steel ramp. That looks like it hurt. Ciampa's laying in some stiff forearms to the back of Otis's neck. There's a couple of running knee strikes for near falls. Ciampa clamps on a sleeper. Otis has him on his back and just falls backwards, landing with all of his weight. Otis hits a strong lariat for a close near fall. Ciampa tries to, at this point, grab his title and bail. He's had enough. But Tucker Knight comes out, cuts him off, and forces him to go back into the ring. Otis hits a pair of exploder suplexes, and Ciampa bails to the floor again. Otis gives chase. Ciampa attempts the draping DDT as Otis is re-entering the ring, but Otis just kind of shrugs it off. Otis gives him another exploder suplex on the floor. Otis was given an awful lot in this match, so good for him and good for Ciampa for taking all these high spots. Otis follows up with a giant jumping elbow for a near fall. Ciampa tries to use the ref as a shield, and Ciampa goes for the eyes. He then gets caught in a sit-out powerbomb for a 2. Ciampa escapes to the apron, and he manages to hit the draping DDT to Otis while he's inside on the apron, and Otis collapses to the floor. Ciampa then hits another draping DDT again on the inside, and he gets the win at 9 minutes and 37 seconds. Like I said, it's shocking to see how much they gave Otis in this one. The crowd really loved him as a singles guy. He looked great, and maybe he can kind of move past this comedy big man status. And Evil Dick Ciampa was just going to blow this off as a joke, and it was way better than I expected. He did, like I said, he did hit him with a couple of knee strikes for near falls. I would have liked to see that as a finish, because Champa is still sporting that big knee brace. So it would make sense that way. So not a whole lot of build in this episode for War Games coming up in November, and they set up a couple matches for next week. Overall, a pretty entertaining show for the two matches that were highlighted here. So that's going to do it for this week. Thanks very much for listening. Catch us this weekend. It's going to be Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. Mike Poulin and I will be back to cover that. Following that, episode 8 of the Angry Marks Rewind podcast has already been taped. We're going to bring that to you after the ROH pay-per-view, and I'm going to have a special guest, and it's going to be a special DVD review. I'm not going to give anything away, but I did put a teaser on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Rohan Unruh, and you'll get an idea of what we're looking at for episode 8. So thanks very much. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you in 7 days.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.